time to call your lawyer.
Call our lawyer and friend Bruce L. Scheiner, attorney for the injured. Ask him one of the questions that perhaps you submitted. I'll tell you how to submit a question for future consideration. By the way, if you've got a question in general about the law or specifically about your case. We're going to get through today's here first. See if Bruce comes up with a good answer. Real quick before we actually go to Bruce, I want to remind you that many attorneys offer a free consultation in situations like this. You ought to take advantage of that before you sign anything or say anything. Don't make any statements. Don't sign anything until you talk to a professional. Now, the specific advice you're going to hear in this specific case does not necessarily apply to yours. Do not take what you're about to hear as actual legal advice in your specific situation. You got to sit down with an attorney like Bruce L. Scheiner face to face and get the details out there before we can know what kind of help you need. So let's see what Bruce thinks about today's legal brain teaser. Please make welcome attorney for the injured, Bruce L. Scheiner. Good morning, Bruce. How are you?
Good morning, Todd. I'm doing very well.
Good. Glad to hear it. And here we are, speeding into the holiday season. Where did it come from? All of a sudden, it was here. I swear it was summer just last week.
It certainly seems like that. You know, this year's almost over.
Unbelievable.
Time just flies by.
It does. And for some of us, that's great because it'll be a happy transition into a pleasant holiday season with friends and family and all of that good stuff. And then there are those who may not be as fortunate. And here's a perfect example in the form of the question that we have for you today. So let's go ahead and get into it and see if you can provide a little advice.
Okay.
Interesting one today, too. It goes like this. I hope I'm not too late asking for help. My husband is 44 years old and is a physician. He was involved in an automobile accident 26 months ago. His head hit the steering wheel and he was unconscious for less than 2 minutes. There were no fractures, and other than a severe headache, he did not seem to have suffered any brain injury. Over the course of these 2 years, myself and our sons have noticed a modification of his normal behavior patterns. He seemed to be restless, doesn't sleep well, and can be aggressive and argumentative when he had not been before. He's not himself. It took a month of me nagging him to please get checked out by a specialist. The neuropsychologist who did a very thorough evaluation concluded my husband had suffered moderate brain damage. It has been slightly more than 2 years. Is it too late to go back and ask for money from the at-fault driver? I know the expression statute of limitations is going to come up here, but I don't know how it plays into it. Bruce, what do you think?
Well, fortunately, we have a 4-year statute of limitations in Florida, so that it's still plenty of time to make the claim. But it seems that this person, the doctor, has classic symptoms of a traumatic brain injury. Mm-hmm. And it's fortunate that the family picked up the symptoms and got him to a neuropsychologist. These happen to be very, very substantial claims because whenever, of course, the brain is involved in an injury, it's a very significant claim. So they need to rush to a personal injury lawyer and present the information and let them take the case from there.
It got me thinking that if this is something that is verifiable and everybody agrees that he has some moderate brain injury, he is a physician, now 44 years old, prime of life, and one has to wonder if maybe down the road that could affect his ability to practice and therefore to earn a livelihood.
That's just one example. There are many, many potential problems arising from that. It's interesting that this question came up because my son PJ is speaking in a conference by the Catastrophic Care Society this weekend in Las Vegas on the subject of traumatic brain injuries.
Interesting.
There's a lot of traumatic brain injuries that people don't detect right away because they're not trained to look for the symptoms.
In this case, took a little over 2 years to figure out what was really going on.
Because one of the things that I always look for when my client's involved in an accident, if there's any loss of consciousness or if he hits his head on something, is those symptoms about him not being himself. Especially people that have not been and become aggressive and argumentative and hard to get along with. Those are classic traumatic brain injury symptoms.
I hope that there's a brighter future here, and I hope being a doctor, working so hard to become a physician, he can keep practicing and everything works out well for the family. And like I say, a nice holiday season coming up as well as we start to get into the holidays. And hopefully they'll take your advice. Bruce, thank you so much for weighing in on this legal brain teaser.
It's my pleasure, Todd. Thank you.
Talk to you again next week, sir. Have a good one. Say happy holidays to the family for me. So, if that answered your question, we're very, very glad to have provided the service. If not, well, maybe you didn't send it to us yet. I'll tell you how to do that in just a moment in case you've got a question you'd like to ask. And by the way, you can consult with attorney for the injured Bruce L. Scheiner for free. And call him at his Port Charlotte office to set that up right now, as a matter of fact. I know we're getting close to the holiday, but that's okay. Call this number, 941-743-7777. Injuries and the law don't take breaks for Thanksgiving dinner. So call 941-743-7777. They're on the southbound side of US 41, about halfway between Forest, Nelson, and Midway. Don't let anyone take away your rights. Find out how to protect yourself and your interests by calling today, 743-7777. Tell them Todd Matthews sent you. And by the way, if you'd like to send us a question for consideration on a future program, simply go to the website and look for Bruce L. Scheiner on the homepage at kickscountry929.com.